Hello, is this thing on? Welcome to Coffee Time Politics Midnight Matinee in the Drama Mama's house. Oh my god, it's been such a long day. It's been such a weird day. Oh my god, it's been so weird. Like, that's the only word for it. It's one thing when it's like a full moon and you can feel the stress and you just know, like, it is definitely a gravitational force of action creating the stress that induces crisis. But tonight, it was just quiet. So quiet. I think I saw an accident about an hour ago where someone had to have passed away. They were in the middle of it. Like, they had just gotten on the scene. Like, you could tell they're trying to pull people out of the wreck. And it was so quiet. There was like fucking 10, 12 emergency people there between fire, ambulance, and police. And the crisis, it was just so quiet. So, I got home and I realized that I show a lot of my entertainment personality to you guys because I have a self-agenda. And about 11 years ago, my self-agenda altered from healing the world to protecting my children. And I didn't realize that that was my initiation in actually learning how to heal the world. And it's been a great experience that I have sacrificed, true sacrifice. When you can comprehend the totality of, as a person, as a human being, what Jesus chose to do. It doesn't matter if he's Jesus or not. I mean, it's just a fucking record of a man that chose to do something, and the one thing he chose to do was ignore the folks who were already abundant and aided the folks who were disadvantaged in abundance, offered them healing to advantage them with not just abundance, but the affirmation that wealth is in faith and not the material world. That outrage is what caused Jesus to be legendized, because he was mocked for that. People called him the Messiah. I mean, he didn't really self-proclaim, but, you know, folks just followed him. And so it was that mockery. It was mockery. It was straight up mockery that legendized Jesus. So it doesn't matter if you believe in Jesus or not. Millions of people, millions and millions were murdered. Civilizations were eradicated over the legendization of Jesus. And then, in reparation, once human awareness evolved into humanity, we began to make amends. So while those who believe in Jesus feel like they are going on missions to spread the word of Jesus, no matter what the branch is, in all actuality, what they don't realize is they're making amends for what their belief system did for hundreds of fucking years. They're healing what they broke. So that's the loophole. It doesn't matter if you believe in this religion or not. That's the loophole. That it changed the world, period. And now folks make amends for it. That's neither here nor there. The point is, It was a choice for Jesus. He saw this in self-awareness as a human being. The difference between the abundant and the disadvantaged. The abundant and the disadvantaged. Before white people ever came on the motherfucking scene. It was white. It was not white privilege and minority oppression. In the beginning, when humans dawned awareness, it was merely abundance versus disadvantagement. I did not actively choose to go walk in the steps of Jesus. Jesus is Jesus. But when you get a taste of it, of what he chose to do willingly and what you have to do in order to make amends, like sometimes to make amends with your faith, you have to walk a certain path so that you have that empathy. You can't love anyone else until you love yourself first. So therefore, you really can't feel an empathetic emotion for someone unless you have that life experience as well. How are you going to know how to relate? So yes, Demi Lovato. Empathy on a sweatshirt. It's fantastic. But it is very clear that you lack true empathy. You are once again, Demi Lovato, allowing adults that are true failures put you back in the limelight, put you back on stage, beef you up as if you're promoting a cause, and at the end of the day, all you're doing is stealing the true identities of folks who have discovered their chromosomal integration. In the 90s, we thought, because we figured out what this DNA meant, that the rest was junk DNA. That was just hilarious. I knew it wasn't junk DNA, but the scientists called it junk DNA. And then in order to make DNA, period, felt to be beyond a reasonable doubt, we had to have that whole Monica Lewinsky bullshit. So my point is that just because you don't know what all of it is for, or if you don't know how all of it works, doesn't mean you've figured out the answer. Yes, we all have an X chromosome. Some have a Y chromosome. It is very clear to see that there is a quantifiable balance that isn't always proportional. And deeming it as non-binary is the opposite of what it is, because we all have an X chromosome. We all have an X chromosome. We are all female because we all came from a female. So you are not non-binary. You are both. Together. So, I really found a deep appreciation for what it means to be tempted by the security of abundance, but the right thing to do was to give up everything and starve, and then figure out how to survive with nothing. All you have left is to go hang out with the disadvantaged. And let me tell you something. It is what it is. But I don't have a fucking right to judge by rolling up my windows and locking my doors. And I did. I did for many years. Roll up the windows, lock the doors, till we're out of here. Yeah? Well, I had to sleep with those folks. I had to eat with those folks. I had to work with those folks. I got my karma. So, okay, the whole point is, it wasn't karma. It was learning the life lesson. And I cannot relate if I don't educate. And I would have never understood also so many life lessons that I love being surrounded by the adventure of learning how other people live in other parts of my world. I'm not ready to go hop on a fucking plane or a boat or anything, you know, but like, fuck. I have had quite a journey. Seen a lot of places, done a lot of things. Wasn't intentional. It was following my faith. Sometimes I had to do some crazy shit to learn my lesson. Tonight is a full moon lunar eclipse. The last one happened on my birthday in 2019. We have 2 weeks before the solar eclipse. So this is kind of like a period. It's not of a self-reflection. It's not of a spiritual momentum that provides clarity. That is not what this is. That's never what an eclipse is. An eclipse is always substance of mass covering the light. Covering it. It's covering it from our perspective. It's not actually covering it. Go stand on the fucking moon. You know what I mean? Like, if you could stand on the moon, all you see is the earth until you stand on the other side of the moon, and all you see is the sun until you stand on the other side of the moon, and you see the sun and the earth, but then you see the stars. Like, come the fuck on. Come on, guys, calm down and get some perspective here. We are shadowed. We who are on this mass, at this angle, in this space and time, our light that feeds our source of life is shadowed for a moment. Until 2 weeks later, where it's the opposite. The earth is its own shadow. Anyways, I have to show a little bit of myself here and there, or else people think that I'm crazy. But the entertainment personality is a self-agenda to answer some questions to individual people. I would prefer if folks have a moment to comprehend the totality of the experience for everyone instead of how they subjectively experienced it, so that consideration for the impact it had on the intrapersonal dynamics of the folks present at that time can be offered as a form of compassion, See, you don't need to experience the lesson itself to give compassion. So, Demi Lovato, you don't mean empathy. Sorry, baby. You got this whole non-binary thing wrong. You got it all wrong. Yes, we are both. But we are not plural. We are one, baby. You got to stop trying to fuck up people's minds here. We are one individual, one human being, one Nietzsche. One Demi Lovato. Not they, not them. All you're doing is playing semantics. You're being taught by adults who failed to continue participating in a cause that doesn't fucking exist, Demi, but whatever. That's the point. People will think I'm crazy if I don't show a little bit of the real me. Which I don't mind if you stop fucking ruining it, man. Like, I'm really fucking awesome. I'm not gonna lie. You're in my mess of a house right now. Not everybody gets to see this. But now everybody does for a moment. I was taught what happens at the end first. Because my greatest anxiety, my biggest fear, a lot of people think it's being a perfectionist or being obsessive compulsive or being a control freak. And it's really quite hilarious because if anybody would listen to me, I've been an active Al-Anon member since 2012. 9 fucking years, people. 9 years I practiced a program. So, by trying to assume what my weaknesses are through your subjective experience has only cultivated stagnation and death in your life because you're wrong. I've been an active Al-Anon member for 9 years. It took me an entire year to get through the first half of the first fucking step, man. I'm Cinnamon Ann Harding. I'm powerless over alcohol? You are out of your goddamn mind. Who are you talking to? I'm not an addict. I'm not an alcoholic. How can alcohol have power over me for me to be powerless over it? A year, 360 days for this brain to comprehend from an objective perspective what that truly meant for me, someone not afflicted with a brain disease. Then it took me another year to get through the second half. Wait, you're telling me alcohol made my life unmanageable? Dude, I don't even need a fucking drop. I forget like it exists sometimes. I worked at a vineyard picking grapes for the winery hundreds of yards away. Like it took me 2 months to put 2 and 2 together that what I was picking was creating alcohol. Like it's just, but it made my life unmanageable. Like, you guys do not get to judge what my ego is and where those weaknesses lie. Because my children were criminally withheld from me, not yours. So you don't get to judge me from a subjective point of view when faced with the theoretical question, everybody's answer is, oh, I'd kill the bitch. Yeah, well, what if you could? What if all you had to do was sell your soul to the fucking devil? What if the devil already did it to one before? And all you had to do was give a little nookie for the rest of your life? You don't fucking kill people if they criminally withhold your children from you. You don't go confront violence with violence, motherfucker. Anyways, the point is that from an objective point of view, I understood that when I draw the strict boundary to not have anyone in my life afflicted with a brain disease that leads to the behavior of addiction, I am number one, alone. Number two, those folks are alone because I've given up on them. And number three, yeah, everything is perfect in my life. Everything is manageable. All this would be clean. It would be glistening. It would be glittering. all of this would just be heaven with all my pillows, and yeah, oh, it'd be gorgeous in here. But I'd be alone. And they'd be even more fucked up. And everything would be perfect. But perfection is not manageability. So no one gets to judge me in the fact that for 9 years, all I have ever strived for is manageability. No, you don't know how hard it is to strive to be the best. Just to find out all you ever should have been striving for is manageability. Because that means shit's gonna get fucked up. And I can't do anything about it. Oh, so now we get to the it's all in God's hands part. Give it to God part, huh? Okay, so the point is where my true weakness lies, what my real anxiety is. Well, my real anxiety wow. It's hard to share, I'm not gonna lie. My real anxiety is knowing that I could have been someone to someone else to create a ripple effect of healing. And I didn't. It's my real anxiety because the worst can happen and sometimes it does. And when the worst happens, it's permanent. Permanent change. No going back. So, when we have these special moments like this lunar eclipse, we have the added universal support to see the difference between weakness and shadows. And all the shadows are is narrow-mindedness. The loss of the inclusion of peripheral vision, figuratively speaking, of course. And the truth, it doesn't hurt, but fuck, it's cold as a bitch, man. Cold as a bitch. Life grows one way, guys, whether we like it or not. Just because our brains evolved to create technology doesn't mean human-made technology can override the laws of fucking life. It doesn't work like that. All we are is alchemists. That's it. We do not get to change the rules of life. We can misappropriate them. You want to spin a black fucking hole on the earth? Listen, man. You're going to get issues. Because it's not appropriate. That's why they're out there, where it's appropriate. The truth is cold. Life grows one way. One gender mates with the other gender, and that produces offspring to populate. Now, because life will always strive to grow until it dies, then it will strive to fertilize through the process of decomposition. It's still all a striving for life. Symbiotic relations can develop in order to assist the disability of the life that is striving to grow. How? Oh, yeah, the blue-spotted fucking salamander, man. And then, like, so they're all females, no males, and then, like, a different species comes and, like, impregnate, oh, no, or maybe, like, the females impregnate each other. There's something going on there. They're the anomaly. There was, a dip in the evolutionary scale. They didn't produce males anymore. They wanted to keep surviving, so somehow, some way, it was adapted where they could continue to produce either with different species or the same species. I don't know. I'll have to go back through her fucking essay. But, so the symbiotic relationship developed to keep the blue-spotted salamander from extinction. Shit like this happens in life. This is the laws of life. So we have mutations, we have anomalies, and sometimes this sparks evolution. Those who believe in Jesus Christ and say that evolution does not exist are failures of adults. Because 2,000 years ago, there was no such thing as indoor plumbing. And if anybody knew how to create the infrastructure of indoor plumbing, they would have. So yes, we evolved. Now, if you want to debate how a human being came into existence, that's different. We can debate all the live long day, monkey versus Adam and Eve. But we're not going to debate the laws of life. Over 100 years ago, we were dying of cholera while New York City saw its shit running down the street. 50 years ago, polio fucking paralyzed a good portion of our population. If we had known the water was contaminated or had the technology to test it, don't you think we would have? We didn't. That fucking shit happened. Polio happened. Guess what we started to do? We started to test the water. That's called evolution, okay? So it's evolution of intellect, evolution of intelligence, but it's still evolution. You want to get into biogenetic evolution? It's cold. The truth is cold. It's so cold. I know you guys so want to hold on to this subjective point of view of identity, to make meaning out of what is scientifically meaningless. And we can do that, but we're going to do it the right fucking way. We're not going to disrespect people. We're not going to go rewriting fucking history here. All right? It is a very sacred moment when a man, a real man, a man through and through, identifies with his gender, knows he is a masculine man, comes face to face with his femininity. doesn't want to dress up, not a transgender, doesn't want to dress up like a woman and feel like a woman. It's not about being a woman as a male finding his polarity. It's him coming to view the femininity within him. And that is very courageous for the boy inside the man to come to terms with. And I've been blessed with some men sharing that with me. Now, as a woman coming to terms with her masculinity, motherfuckers, meet cinnamon. No one's going to tell me that I am non-binary, because I am in touch with both the masculine and feminine aspects of myself. And no one is going to tell me that I cannot have both dominant masculinity and dominant femininity without identifying by a fucking pronoun. Non-binary is not neutrality. We are not going to phase out the reproductive organs that sustain life as we know it. We're going to bring it down to a primal level, because not only will we respect the vagina, we will respect the penis. Because every penis was a little boy at one point in time. So I can't do much about providing perspective to the world itself except for what I do and what I have the time to do. Because my children are the most important. Look, you guys weren't going to make me crazy. I mean, you tried to make it look like it, but I had work to do. I had, journaling for the leaders that now run your free country to document and keep record of for me. But at the end of the day, you're not going to make them crazy either. They are going to know the difference between successful adults and adults who are failures. They are. They're going to learn how to face them as children, where these failure of adults force them into adult dynamics that don't apply to them as a way to target them, to exert power, control, and authority over them, so that behavior modification to be tailored specifically to that failure of an adult's self-agenda will not be tolerated. Absolutely not. It was never tolerated. It's just that my babies were babies, and now they're growing into an adult. And so now we have to face it at that level. So when it comes to the rest of the world, all I can do is be an example and share, be willing to share. But that doesn't mean that you are exempt from the emotions behind it. Because if you truly want to stand there and judge as someone who hasn't even reached middle age what it means to self-identify when you've recognized you have both chromosomes or some imbalance, quantifiable proportion of these genetics, the cold hard truth is hard. It's fucking hard, man. What's the cold hard truth? Those who are not female and those who are not male and those female males are not attracted to each other but do something else, it just means that they don't reproduce and they don't populate. So on a scientific level, when you're looking at it from a microscope, It's so cold, and I'm sorry to say this, but when you identify as being gay or bisexual, or transgender or non-binary, it just means that you're an anomaly. You're a scientific anomaly, and you'll phase out. You'll fade out. I'm sorry. It's so cold, but scientifically speaking, you will not sustain life. And I'm not saying that your identity won't sustain life. What I'm saying is there will always be more people who identify as their gender than people who do not. Because the people who identify as their gender are the ones who sustain life. So the anomalies are just a way in which infinity exists. It's not wrong, right, or indifferent. If you love your same gender, if you identify as the opposite gender, if you identify as no gender, we can definitely establish the emotional morals and the legislative ethics behind it all. But scientifically speaking, at the end of the day, we can compare you to quarks, up and down, male, female, strange, charmed. Those are the anomalies. And because they don't sustain life, every time they pop in and out, they create a gravitational force called gluon. That gluon, that gravitational force of the anomalies that do not stabilize in existence, is actually what stabilizes the up and down quarks to maintain existence. So your cellular life, at its very core, can sustain life. Microbiology, baby. Sorry it's so cold. So that's the truth of it. So if we get down to the truth, scientifically speaking, when we remove human subjectivity, it's like the earth moving just beyond the twilight, and you can see almost every star in the sky as an individual star instead of a twinkling glitter. You see infinity, never ending, never ends. What it means is whatever your belief systems are, at one point, the earth will die. It's going to die. It's not going to be here anymore. And then our whole galaxy is going to get sucked into a black hole. That's all. That's the end of it. So it also means that all we are is energy. Anything and everything you see in our galaxy will all be one itty-bitty singularity. We will all be squished together one day again. All of us, you, me, all this shit, all that shit, all of it will all be squished together in a little itty-bitty singularity. You don't have to care. I care enough for the both of us. Recognizing infinity is fucking terrifying. It's terrifying. Not having the light to cloak the vastness. Not having the light to provide the spatial recognition of who and what you're coexisting with. It's fucking terrifying. Miss Jenna, calm that fear in me. December 31st, 2021. Oh, that was a hard year. I have been, probably not heard, but I have been lecturing someone that was very special to me for about 10 days now. I've never done this with anyone. I've lectured people. Y'all got a Cinnamon lecture. And now I have children, and they don't know that Cinnamon lectured for 20 years prior to their birth, so they think they're getting something new. I made babies so I could lecture them. That's my right. But, before technology, you either got a 10-page letter or you got a little snippet. But with technology today, it gives me an edge. Is coffee time politics really politics, or is it just a Cinnamon lecture? Sometimes not. Sometimes it's really coffee time politics. I've been lecturing him because I do not blame anyone for what they do not know. Why do you think I'm always trying to educate you people? You think I'm being a stuck-up know-it-all. You think I'm composing myself as if I am white privilege. Ugh. Someone would have stopped me to tell me the answer before I made the mistake. I wouldn't have made the mistake. I would have learned from what I was taught, and I would have do better, and the world wouldn't be as bad because I wouldn't have made the mistake, because I would have made it better. See how good parenting works? So, again, you don't have to care. I care enough for the both of us. I go on rants and raves about the stigma and stereotypes that are prejudiced, discriminative, and provoke retaliation on so many levels and across so many boards. It took me a whole year to come to terms with the fact that I am powerless over alcohol, and it made my life unmanageable. I think that for a year, I was so fucking embarrassed that I felt I was absolved from the effects of alcoholism that I actually believed I was immune. Because what the program does for someone who is not an addict and not an alcoholic, but is affected by the alcoholism of the one that they love, they do some crazy fucking shit, man. We do some crazy shit. We fucking love you people. You're killing yourself. Like, we're watching you commit suicide very slowly. Like, when your hand picks up, we know that that hand is only going to further your death in some way. And you want us to sit there and fucking watch you? Wait, and you want us to be cool about it? Like, it's so cool to kill yourself? Sure, I'm drinking coffee, I'm smoking cigarettes. Like, if we want to get into semantics, we can. But I did this. Drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes. I did all of this. Like, fuck, man. It was like, I did this. someone who has a brain disease and is afflicted with addiction, they can only do so much. They can only do so much for so long. They can only do so much for so long. Sorry, guys. Drugs and alcohol is not nourishment. It's just not. And when you make your body dependent upon it, you lead yourself to believe that the medicine is poison and the poison is medicine. And it's at that point that it's been scientifically proven your brain flips. That's the brain disease. They can show you how your brain, the neurological signals in your brain from hormone to neurotransmitter to thought to behavior flipped upside down. So, I'm not going to treat someone with Parkinson's disease differently than someone afflicted with the disease of addiction. If I'm so embarrassed that I am powerless over alcohol and it made my life unmanageable, can you only imagine what it has done to the alcoholic or the addict themselves? Can you only imagine how embarrassed they are? Or at one point was before they killed the part of their brain that felt that emotional awareness? For goodness' sake. They go to some pretty fucking sick places, man. Fucking, like, seriously. So, being so embarrassed and trying to educate the world on the fact that this is a disease has been really hard for folks to communicate what that means. So they've tried so hard to relate it to diabetes. And that's where, the folks who are uneducated about the disease, they fall short. That's where they fall short. They just can't see how alcohol could be like the sickness of diabetes, and they're correct because it is truly the wrong comparison. Those afflicted with the disease have an allergy. Yes, we can definitely relate it as an allergy, and an allergy is an adverse effect. An adverse effect. The moment you come into contact with it, the moment. So somebody eats peanut butter, you're going to swell up. You need an EpiPen. I get stung by a bee, my whole fucking arm swells up, It's an adverse reaction immediately to whatever the substance is. And that's where I feel like folks fail in how they scientifically describe the reality of what folks face. At the first drop of alcohol, the very first drop, there's an adverse reaction. At the very first thought, like it goes even deeper than that. It's just the thought. It creates an adverse reaction. So, what happens when you experiment by lacing pot with meth and selling it? We obviously know that the intention of the drug dealer to lace the pot with meth is to get people to have that high of the meth and want more. Obviously, the pot isn't the object, it's being able to sell the meth. So once you find those who are jonesing for more pot, That's when you ease into the conversation that, hey, it was laced with meth, and then that's how you get your meth business off the ground, right? That's only going to happen with folks afflicted by the disease of addiction. That is only going to happen with people who have a diseased brain. When it is not a disease for a person, and you put that in their body is going to reject it. Their body is going to know that there's a foreign substance that has entered the body and it needs to be fought off. Once it's fought off, that healthy body, that not diseased brain, it's not going to go back to the source that created the poisoning. That person is not going to fiend. That person is going to get sick and find ways to recover and heal the body until they can figure out what the fuck just happened. That is the cold, hard truth. That's the cold, hard truth. Take two people, unsuspecting, unknowing. One has a brain disease, one doesn't. You poison both of them. What happens? The adverse effect for the person that doesn't have a brain disease was managed differently than the person with a brain disease. That's the scientific proof. So, I will not ever let anyone ever misrepresent me to be someone who is afflicted with a brain disease. That's not fair to them. I don't get angry because you're looking at me like I'm a junkie whore. I'm getting angry that you know junkie whores exist and you're not doing a goddamn thing about it. That's what I get angry at. So first and foremost, before we even get into self-identities and the evolution of only neurological development, it's only neurological development, that's it. We're going to set that aside. Neurological development of identifications. Because in this moment, sickness and in health applies to every single creation, every form of life. That is all inclusive. Identities create subdivisions. So there will always be division when you erect an identity. Tonight is not about that. It's about inclusion. There is sick and there is not sick. We have just faced a world where sick was something we could not neglect, which is what you all have been doing on some level. How was I doing it? I started working through BBSI as a boxer bagger for $10, not even $10 an hour. And it came to the point where I was flipping my shit. I'm watching these folks harm a woman's vagina and there's nothing I can do about it. Like, now I know why my body has an allergic reaction to this product. I'm watching them do it. So, one morning I came home from work. Poor Travis, he's the only one that's seen this feminist emotions in action. He couldn't understand. He's like, it's just a job. No, it's not just a job, man. Not this job. If we were making chairs, it'd be fine. We're making a medical device that holds the biohazardous mass of a woman's uterine lining, as well as the panty liners for the vaginal excretions that come before and after the uterine lining is rejected. So I came home, all alone, my own thoughts in my own head, because I had a self-agenda and nobody could be a part of my life for me to complete it. Nobody. For a whole year, I was pretty much alone. I talked with my brother, though. He was definitely there for me. And basically my sister, Stacy. Oh my God, she saved my life, let me tell you. So I had the phone in my hand and I called the FDA. I had the FDA on the line. Oh my God, I had the FDA on the line and I said, this is the department I need to speak to. I said, I'm seeing this and I want this to be anonymous because I don't want to be seen as, a disgruntled employee, because that's not what it is. I try to educate these people over and over again. And she says to me, well, the person you need to speak with is actually in a conference right now. And they'll be done at 2 p.m. I'm really glad you decided to call, she says. Nobody ever really does this. They're afraid. So thank you for calling. So it's like 1:55. I have the fucking phone in my hand. I don't remember what time it was. It was something like this. All I know is that I had the phone in my hand because I had 5 minutes left to call the FDA. And Gina calls me and offers me the job of production technician 2. And it blew my mind. For the first time, I had the opportunity to change from the inside. I didn't have to go calling in the dogs. Because I promise you, this little corporation, all it takes is one call and it all goes to shit. It does. So they really fucking beefed me up, because I'm good at what I do. And they had me they loved me. They all loved me. I had such great reviews. Of course, I do great work. Anybody who's ever worked with me knows I do great work. And then Heather opened up her big fucking mouth with her borderline personality disorder. And began playing cat and mouse games with her own shadow because she thought I didn't know. She defamed me. But I can handle that. Come on now. You don't think I can handle a submissive female? Because that's what she is. No dominant female will act like the man in a relationship. Sorry. A true alpha female will always want an alpha male. An alpha female will never seek out anything less than an alpha male. Come on. That is primal. That is how life survives, guys. I'm sorry it's so cold, but that's the truth. So here this girl is fucking spinning stories. Now, she's got a good man. She does. She doesn't know it. She doesn't know that he's actually better than her. She doesn't realize that she's actually got the appropriate dynamic She's just forcing the inappropriate dynamic. So I'm watching that. But this is when it pissed me off and I met her with fire. She used Travis. She used him emotionlessly. This wonderful, wonderful man. If Jesus were ever to be reincarnated, I swear it is this dude. And those are some really big fucking words to say. He set her up within a week. Procter & Gamble, a global company, room to be promoted and grow and build a future. Within a week, he had her an interview and pretty much hired on. You know how hard it is to get into Procter & Gamble? And she fucking went through the motions with him. She got him all revved up. He went out on a limb, used the little bit of reputation he acquired in that small amount of time he had been employed there, and used it for her benefit. And nobody saw that what she was doing was using it as an opportunity to go around the whole facility, saying, basically, I can get a better job. Do you want me or not? Am I valued here or not? And once people spoke up and was like, yeah, Heather, we love you. We accept you. Why don't you stay here? It's a big, happy family. The cunt got an attitude like she was bigger and better. Now, the dramatics of it all, I took care of. But it just got worse. What warrants a call to the FDA got worse. No matter what I did or how I did it, Heather always spun the subjective experience to judge me as being everything that anyone should dislike about a person. And at the end of the day, you know what happened? Women's vaginas were hurt, and like there was a lot of fucking garbage, 420,000 pads, my best number ever, 1% scrap. Garbage. It was all fucking garbage. And that was only our 12-hour shift. I was there for days. Just days worth of garbage because Heather taught everybody production above perfection instead of quality above quantity. All she ever did was incur loss and injury with her leadership. But how was I sick? Because I truly believed that one of them was strong enough to rise above Heather's borderline personality disorder and see the value of me. I was so experienced on so many of those machines that after 8 months, I should have been cross-trained on at least 2 more, at least to get the experience. And instead, they forced me to stay on the most laborious line. The machine we ran and is still running was made in 1970. 1970, that's 50 years ago. We are still running the same machine that made your pads in 1970. It's the same fucking machine. Do you remember how things were built back in 1970? They were machines. And everything you pick the fuck up with your hands. They almost killed me. Now, I had a questionnaire in the beginning that asked if I had an illness that prevented me from completing my duties. That was under the premise that I would start out on the 50-year-old machine and then be cross-trained on the other machines where for 40 hours a week I was not consuming or I was not burning more calories than I could consume. To work the 8 hours on that machine for anybody burns anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 calories in a shift. I can barely get 1,000 calories in me. Barely a day. Barely. If I'm fucking lucky. They watched me wither for an entire year and purposefully kept me on that machine to continue to wither because they knew I would either die or have to give up. And I didn't. I didn't have to. There were so many things I could do. Come on now. There were so many things I could do. Oh, these people are so lucky. If they were my fight, they're not my fight. My fight is respecting the vagina. And for the last 10 days, respecting the penis. The question is, do I still call the FDA? Am I ethically bound? Am I morally bound? You guys only know the generals. You don't know any specifics. I know my contract. At no point in time did I sign a contract to not disclose the names of the employees I worked with. You fucked with my community, Heather. This is my community, too. It's been my community for 14 motherfucking years, Heather. 14 years. I've been enmeshed in this entire community, and you think that you're going to come up on the scene and all of a sudden spin Cinnamon to be someone she's not? Do you know how many people have done that? See, what you guys didn't realize is while you were trying to spin me to be someone because you were provided only the information that Heather gave you, that entire year was me actually going to professionals to have any and every evaluation possible by different organizations, which would be completely objective, non-biased, non-connected professional opinions to disprove you. And I did, and I have, and I've got all the paperwork. I've disproved you. I waited 11 years to do it. I could have done it 11 years ago, but I'm not going to not be with my babies for a whole, fuck that shit. The moment they were age appropriate, I did it. And ta-da, we're here. Now do we go share how folks sicken vaginas? So it came to a point where it was like, I couldn't hide my self-agenda anymore. And so I've been speaking on it since in ways where the folks that think they're getting some inside information when they come to my page have some. But it's really not. It's not inside information. It's like I've given it freely and willingly. You see, the folks that work at this facility, they are living the life they want to live, and they'll fight for it. Yep, Rooney. Their mistake was thinking that I was also living the life I wanted to live, and I was going to fight for it, and they were sadly fucking mistaken. It was all a means to an end. Fuck you, people. You should have minded your own business and left my fucking kids alone. But you didn't, so you get what you got. However, then this man comes. I never, ever, ever give anybody a second chance. I've made grown men fucking cry. Cry. Because they don't get a second chance. They just get the truth in their face. And then they need to leave me alone. But that's after I've calmed down for 2 weeks. At least. And if you try to get in my fucking face before I've calmed down, man, God help you. It's happened before. Cutthroat. My babies were babies. They needed me. You waste my fucking time. That means you're wasting my children's time. Look. So I've been lecturing. gave 3 chances. Because I can't blame someone for what they don't know. And that is new for me. That is very new. I hold everybody to the same standard and expectations. Because those are the standards and expectations I hold my children to. So if they can follow through, nobody has an excuse. But now we're at the full moon lunar eclipse. And now we're seeing the shadows show us the vastness. And the vastness proves I'm not a fucking know-it-all because I don't know it all. I don't. I do not. But I do know what I do know. And that will be respected. And what I don't know will not be someone's strategy to target me. Now we go on to Ken DeMarco. Because he's just done pissed me off, man. He won't leave me the fuck alone. Like, dude, you're fucking evil. Evil lives inside of you because you welcomed it. Like, I don't have anything to do with you, man. Like, what the fuck? On any level. Like, I walked away. Look. Not only did I walk away, I walked away after I kicked him out of his own cousin's house, who just so happened to be the director of philanthropy for the fucking water fires, whose boyfriend just so happened to be a cop for Warwick and on the SWAT team, whose uncle, both their uncle, is the fucking, or was, he's fucking dead now, was the one who fucking owned and operated, like, the biggest developmentally disabled facility in Warwick. I kicked him out of her house, cleaned it the fuck up, and then left. After I house sat so she could go to Jamaica, which turned out to be shit, because that's when Hurricane Sandy came through. Superstorm Sandy, that's right. Whew. That was nuts. But, fuck. I call him Disaster DeMarco. I don't know what the fuck he's doing, and I don't care. All I know is that I forced his ass to leave me in 2012. And then last year I get a fucking Facebook message from him that says, "Hello, Cinnamon." And it just continues to prove diseased brains are irrational and illogical and unreasonable. To expect healthy behavior from a diseased brain is absolutely intolerable and unacceptable. So, when we see that unreasonability, irrationality, and illogical behaviors and actions are being presented from a diseased brain, then we respond as the brain is diseased. So we don't message back, "Hey Kenny, what's up? How's shit been?" Because we know a diseased brain doesn't magically become undiseased one day. And if that's the way he was acting with me 9 years ago, well, then it was 8. How do you think he's grown since then? It's only going to be worse. He was very clear about how he forcefully cultivated and bred inside of himself and in his surroundings pure evil. For me, even 8 years later, what, 8 years, you think all that time's passed? Like, I'm gonna fucking forget that you're fucking evil? I can't even call you a psychopath, dude, because it's not even that, dude. You're fucking evil to the core. You are so evil that you go to the doctor, just your regular primary care physician, so that you don't have to have a record of psychiatric treatment, so you can get the pills to hush your brain at night, to hush the evil that you invite and cultivate, so you can get a couple of hours of sleep and forget that what you really want is a fucking drink and you want to go on a disaster spree. Like, you think that 8 years all of a sudden that's going to disappear? No, baby. That shit gets worse. That shit gets worse. And you're a cop? And I fucking chided you about how you're not doing your best? Look, I took this dude's fucking hair and I rubbed his nose inside my asshole. Do you understand this? Folks, can you understand this? This is not violence. This is not violence. This is a man who was not mothered as a child appropriately and then went on a rampage his entire adulthood where no one stopped him, and then he came to me and dropped that shit at my doorstep like it was going to keep going. So, if you want to act like an animal, you'll be treated like a goddamn animal. Only shit comes out of assholes, motherfucker. You want to carry a gun and a motherfucking badge? And you're going to come to my fucking bed acting like this? You got another motherfucking thing coming. Now, I have kept my mouth fucking shut for 9 years, but tonight called it. I watched a Dr. G Medical Examiner show once. I love that show. I love all shows like that. My mommy and me. We're fucking freaks about that shit. Anyways. There was this one story about this woman who passed and came to the Dr. G to be autopsied, and Dr. G opened her up and saw that her lungs were riddled with a lifetime of cocaine use. Nobody knew this woman did cocaine. Her family didn't know, her friends didn't know, her community didn't know. Like, when this doctor told the family how heavily addicted she was to cocaine, like, it tore them apart. Well, Kenny's cousin, who was at that point in time the director of philanthropy, was in action living that woman. And I'm watching her fucking shove. Listen, I have to tell this story, because fuck them. Alright, so I kicked Kenny out of the cousin's house. I'm not going to say her name, but, because she hasn't done anything wrong, but she's still fucked up, because she's so fucked up. Like, that was wicked fucked up, bitch. That whole thing was wicked fucked up. But hey, anyways. So, her boyfriend's a fucking Fruit Loop, too. Fucking puts his gun on top of his fucking car when he gets called to a SWAT call and fucking drives away with the gun on top of the fucking car and it falls off and goes off. I mean, seriously, people, you dumb fucks. Anyways, so he's out on the town. He knows she does this crazy shit. He can't pin her down. All he wants is her and to love her, and that's his obsession is her. And he's willing to control any aspect of her life to get him to, just fall all over him. And one night she wants to hang out. So we go to this club and it's like, is this Jamaica music? And I'm doing my thing. And she's shoving all this cocaine up her nose and sitting in the corner and, socializing. She's the director of philanthropy. I mean, that's her fucking job. But, we're off the clock and she comes out and we hang out and we do our thing and then we go back to the house and her daughter's with her father. And so we're all alone. I kick Kenny out and she's still shoving fucking cocaine up her nose. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning She's on the phone, on the fucking couch. I'm tired as fuck and ready to go to sleep. And she's like, do you think my dealer would be awake right now? It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, he's a cocaine dealer. He's going to be up all the time. So she calls him, and he's like, listen, I'm on vacation. And she's like, oh. And he said, but if you go into your bathroom and you unscrew the light switch, you'll find an 8-ball there for you. I put there once, just in case something like this happened. I went rip-roaring. Oh, my God, don't you know? We opened up that fucking plate, and there was an 8-ball sitting right there for her. And the cunt had the audacity to say, I feel violated. Your drug dealer was such a good drug dealer, so good at his job, just like you. He made good goddamn sure that his customers were satisfied even when he was away on other business, and you feel violated. No, baby, you feel embarrassed that your addiction was so out of control that your own dealer knew he could not keep up with the supply and demand in every moment you needed it. So he had strategy to ensure that his customers were satisfied at all times. That's the embarrassment. Your director of philanthropy. Don't fucking pull this bullshit on me. Oh my God, that was fucking crazy. That was crazy. Oh, that was some of course I had to fucking leave. Oh my God, packed everything up, took what I could, threw away the rest, and fucking left. Haven't talked to him since. Crazy fucks. Crazy fucks. The point is, someone afflicted with the disease of addiction has a different life than those not. And that means that every single day from the moment they become aware they have an addiction, for the rest of their life, there's no black and white. Every day, every moment is either recovery or relapse. There's no in between. It is either recovery or relapse till the day they die. It's not that way for me. My recovery and my relapse has to do with my cachexia. And when I was 16, it was anorexia. Then it was a coping mechanism. Then it was a self-esteem issue, a self-respect issue, a way to take back power, control, and authority of folks that just were completely imprisoning me. And that calibration, that calibrated me. That was a calibration. That calibrated me. And it developed even though the eating disorder itself lasted a couple of years. The effects of it has lasted a lifetime. I battle death almost every day. So, recovery for me isn't a moment-by-moment focus, even when I'm on the verge of death. And when I'm on the verge of death, that means that I cannot move. I cannot move. There is no movement. If I move, I burn calories. The only movement there can be is to go to the bathroom or get in the shower to wash up enough to be good enough to lay back down and not move for 2 weeks. I have to not move for 2 fucking weeks. You do not know what it's like to have all this energy to be so productive, so creative, so inspired, and you are battling with yourself to not fucking move. So the recovery aspect of it lasts long enough to when I have enough weight on me again. Then we just try to create manageability and maintain. I knew what I was sacrificing in that job. I knew what was happening to me. I'll die for my children. Abso-fucking-lutely. I'll kill for them, of course, but only if it's necessary. It's not been necessary yet. To die for them, it's almost been necessary many times. So, relating a brain disease can be extremely difficult if it's seen from a subjective point of view, being a junkie whore. That's a subjective point of view. And I am profiled like that. Do you really think I find insult in the fact that people think that I do drugs and sell my body? No. That's not the insult. The insult is you clearly do not see the self-love, the self-respect, the self-worth, the self-confidence, the self-esteem. Did I even say that? You apparently do not see all of this wrapped up into this. That's the insult. You can't see past your own weaknesses and your own insecurities to truly investigate an objective perspective. So I'm going to rewind it back and give you an example. I Uber Eat, and it was like my third day or something. And all I did was throw my hair up and put on pants and a shirt. Like, I really didn't get dressed up. And you gotta, like, wait around for orders. So if you're not hopping in one spot, you gotta hop to another to figure it out. Well, here I am driving in a 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix. I have a man in the passenger seat. He's not driving. I am. I, from a distance, look like I am wasting away, which I am, but they're assuming, the cops, that the only source of wasting away is addiction. So the profiling does not actually facilitate with the active behavior of selling your body for drugs. It sources in their discrimination of where the source of the wasting away lies. Obviously, I'm wasting away, motherfucker. So unless you can prove that you have a medical opinion on the source of that to validate what makes it probable cause and not profiling, is a manipulative tactic that wastes time and purely breeds hate. It's a hate crime. I mean, it really is. It's a fucking hate crime at the end of the day. We'll get into that later. So, 3 cops followed me to 3 different stores under the impression that I was acting suspiciously, and they were able to pull me over for not using a blinker. The first time they did that was like Bubba was born. So yeah, it was like 13 years ago. The first time they did that, I believed them. This time when they said that shit, like, bitch, I use my blinkers. Have you not seen my driving history? Like, what do you mean I didn't use my blinker? Like, freaked me out for a minute that the fucking shit's corroded again and he's got to get in there and scrub that shit out. No, it was working fine, motherfucker. So, they profiled me. The moment they asked if I had any heroin or needles, that's when I was like, oh my God, Arthur, they think I'm a junkie whore. They got hit real quick. I not only did they profile me, but they profiled someone with a very big mouth. So they did their job. They made sure administratively, they were county police too, not the Wilmington police. Those are crooked people. These are county police, and they've always done a good job. I've seen them go to the more disadvantaged neighborhoods and bring toys and play and snacks. I mean, they're just, most of them are all around good people. So, and they were young too. All 3 of them were fucking boys. Good boys, because they treated me respectfully. Then I go bring Arthur home. get ready, go back out by myself. I'm on fucking Union Ave again. Oh my God. Why do I always have to be on Union Ave? And it's fucking rush hour traffic. And I pull out. And I cut a cop off. Did not know. Thought he was pulling me over because I ran the yellow light. And that's when he explained to me what the fuck happened. And I was unaware. It was my job to be aware. I was unaware. So the man that I fell in love with, he doesn't want to talk to me, which is whatever. And, like, that would be, like, something that two people who are attracted to each other and start a relationship and talk on the phone, like, it'd be little things like that you talk to him about. But all he wants to do is have these fantasies through text. So I can only, either it's a book or it's one sentence. Either it's a flood or it's no intimacy. So, I'm like, yep, totally got checked for my behavior. It happens. I told you, someone absolutely has to bring substantial evidentiary proof. And then I will promptly admit when I was wrong and make amends. That's who I am. That's who I've always been. It's just that Al-Anon put it into words for me. So I said to the officer that it was my fault, and I apologized. That was absolutely my fault. That was dangerous. It was my fault. I misunderstood. It was absolutely my fault. I am better than that. I said, this is what happened earlier where I was profiled. They took a look at my license. They've seen my history. They understood that, I was Uber eating. I was even on a delivery with this guy, and this cop pulled me over, and I said, listen, you can go look at my driving history too. You can see that this is not common behavior. This is not typical of me. So I told the man that I fell in love with, I was like, I was checked. That motherfucker had the audacity to tell me that he needed to put me in my place. I don't want to talk. I want to finish talking to the world. I fucking talk to you nonstop. You never talk back. You never say shit back, man. I'm going to pick up the phone and it's going to be, hey, what are you doing? Talk fucking back, man. Fucking go read a book or watch the fucking news and figure something to talk about. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So it was cute in the moment when he said that. I'll have to put you in your place. But he didn't understand. I'm not a naughty girl. I'm not a bad girl. Look, I had some rockin' sex with Al Moyen. Holy shit. That was some good sex with Al Moyen. It was in 2011. And, it was just a little block of time where we just had a little fling. It was great. But Al Moyen likes sex a certain way. And he was honest with me about it. That is what made him so attractive. I mean, it's bad sex, but I'm not going to judge him for it because he was honest with me about it. So I said, listen, if we're going to do this, that's fine. And if that's what you like from a girl and she can keep her soul, God bless her. But that is not who I am. I am soft and I am gentle. That is who I am. So if that's who you want to be with me, then I'm down. But there's no fucking way you're calling me a whore and slapping my ass, motherfucker. Nope. Thank you, though. You know what Al Moyen taught me? They're not just my babies. Al Moyen taught me that. They're not only mine. They're his, too. Al Moyen taught me that. Fucking lifesaver, let me tell you. Someone gave him a tampon to put in his rear view mirror. And the last time, we had, it was pretty good. But I was, having my womanly time of the month. So, because it was Al Moyen. And he was just like a little boy in a candy shop. I used his tampon so he could do a little bit of his thing. So I just don't share that with people. I'm not a bad girl. I'm not a naughty girl. The girl inside of me is a good girl. She is a good girl. Makes mistakes, but as viciously as I protect my children, it's as viciously as I protect my good girl inside. And it was so sad to fall so deeply for someone and watch them purposefully sabotage and insult and hurt in these little tidbits that he knows what he's doing, but he just wants to see what it's going to do. Guess I'll have to put you in your place now, too. No, baby. You can't. You can't, because I'm a good girl and you look for bad girls. You're not putting me in my place. That police officer reminded me that I am better than that. That police officer reminded me that in that moment, my priority was not safety. My standard was not impeccable. That officer reminded me that in that moment, I was being one of a million instead of one in a million. And that is why he has a job. So don't sit there and tell me that you're going to put me in my fucking place when you can't even get out of your own head to see what my priorities are, what my agenda is, what my goal is. It was purposeful, though. So, who knows what the future holds in regards to technology catching up with outdated patterns. We are in the midst of the change that will create the next new world. And that is the vastness of infinity that this lunar eclipse will bring. And I wanted to share it with you folks. As me, Cinnamon, just being Cinnamon for a moment. So we could break down the dramatics and get to the real grown-up points. Today I watched Pennsville and Woodstown in 2021 live a moment where all the fight and all the struggle never existed. Ever. Tonight they played like this is how life has always been. Fun, supportive, healthy. It was 17-2. 17-2. And one of our Woodstown adults had to yell out, "It's okay to catch the ball before it hits the ground." As if that was ever the fucking point. Those girls are in the outfield for a fucking reason. They don't hustle for a reason. They can't catch the ball for a reason. They can't throw the ball for a reason. Because it's fucked up COVID. We have a haphazard team. We barely train. And it's clear to see that the family of these girls don't support them enough to practice with them when It's not practice or a game. So they're put in the outfield so they can too participate and be a part. But no one realizes that the outfield is actually the most important positions in defense. The most important. So these girls who are the most disadvantaged are in positions that are the most skilled and important. And we have some cunt on the sideline that's supposed to be in support of us, heckling us. 17-2, I come back and they're playing like children should, where none of the problems existed and we were all having fun. So, we can totally psychoanalyze identities at one point in time. We're not doing it tonight. Tonight is all-inclusive. All-inclusive. It's all-inclusive. And when all is included, that means there are no titles because it is every title. Therefore, to unite means we are not going to categorize. So where shit gets tricky. I have to go do my own thing now. It's getting close to that time. The eclipse is actually at like 7:16 in the morning. We'll start to see it around 5 a.m. But the full moon is in effect in this very moment. Now, when it comes to the discussion of science, again, this is not room for you to judge with a subjective experience. When I speak of anything that has to do with existence itself, it's scientific. And scientifically speaking, the gravitational force of a full moon as well as a lunar eclipse affects us physically, gravitationally. About 3 days before this lunar eclipse, a coronal mass was ejected from the sun. So about 3 days ago, no, I'm sorry, not 3. Okay, the lecture started on Sunday. So, yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago the coronal mass was ejected. So we all got this huge burst of electromagnetic radiation. We didn't feel it, but it came. So all of this is scientifically speaking. Sure, if I can love the fun of horoscopes and dabbling in that shit, but at the end of the day, everything I do is scientific. All of it. All of it. All of it. It's scientific. There's no secret magic behind it. I just call it magic so that you guys will mind your own fucking business. Okay, but anyways, thank you for sharing this moment with me. Midnight Matinee. Instead of rambling. I love you guys. And I never thought that I would care enough to want to do something with this after I reached the goal of my children. So that's why it's all over the place. I had a self-agenda with Facebook. It was my way to modify people's behavior for my benefit. The responsibility after you condition someone is great. So now we're here and we can actually do something with it that can evolve the point and the purpose. I'm not here to modify your behavior. unless you fuck with my kids. Listen, you get your turn first. You remember that. Every single one of you. You get your turn first. You want to be rude? You want to be condescending? You want to be insulting? You want to be disrespectful? You want to exert power, control, and authority for the only goal to be maltreatment? Then shit's different. The perspective on the reality of existence needs to be discussed. It absolutely needs to be discussed. Because if not, people insert their ideas in which their imagination concocted, and shit gets out of control, like Scientology. And other things. So, we need to remember that when the shadow covers the light, we are less finite, not more. And it's fucking beautiful. Okay, whatever. I'm coffeeed out. I'm going to take a bath. And I'm going to exercise the fucking evil out. Because that's what I do. Good night. I love you. See you in the morning. Have sweet and pleasant dreams.